His sense of smell is incredibly powerful, 250 times that of a dog's, and he can distinguish more than 9,000 different things. Even more remarkably, he can find clues from various smells and then deduce the process of a crime. Police dogs can only sniff out scents, but he can solve cases just by smelling. Not long ago, Orf, the owner of a real estate company, died in an apartment. His time of death was approximately 12 hours ago, and the cause of death was still unclear. There were no wounds on the surface of the body, and it seemed like a natural death. No fingerprints of a third party were found in the room either. Victor took off his nose clip and first sniffed at the policeman. This was his preparation before starting work.
6 лет живете в общежитии, любите соленые огурцы, позавчера выпивали. Самогон двойной очистки.
Виноват.
Victor took a deep breath. The smells of food, furniture, and stinky feet in the room were filtered and analyzed in his mind. In just a few seconds, he opened his eyes.
Его убили. Влили дигоксин в кофе.
Digoxin is a medicine used to treat cardiovascular diseases, generally for treating heart failure. If the dosage exceeds 50 times the normal amount, that is, 10 milligrams, it can cause a cardiac arrest in an adult and lead to death. Not only did Victor figure out the method of murder, but he also smelled out the characteristics of the murderer, a man aged between 45 and 50, who was trying to quit smoking and had a nicotine patch on his right arm. He also smelled the fragrance of banknotes. After the murderer took away the 2 million euros. Based on the smell left by the murderer, Victor inferred that the murderer often went to a place called a salt cave. The walls of the salt cave were made of sea salt, which is a specialty of Ukraine. It can clean the trachea and is very beneficial for people trying to quit smoking. Not long after, Tork, Orf's subordinate, also died. Victor sniffed for a few seconds and deduced that the murderer was the same person who killed Orf. Tork had touched the bag containing the large sum of money, and later the bag was taken away by the murderer. There was the smell of titanium dioxide on Tork's hand, which can only be found on the bags of paintball bullets used in live-action CS games, indicating that the murderer was a fan of CS games. Then Victor went to smell inside the deceased's car. He inferred that the murderer knew Tork. The murderer killed Orf for the 2 million euros. Tork tried to blackmail the murderer. Yesterday, the murderer gave the bag containing the money to Tork, and the two had a dispute. Then the murderer beat Tork to death and took the bag away again. Even more amazingly, he also smelled out that the CS club the murderer often went to was located in an abandoned cardboard factory. The police immediately locked onto this place. The two men divided their tasks. Victor was responsible for smelling the scent of each person, and Vasily was responsible for checking who had a nicotine patch on their arm. They searched around the club, but none of those burly men had a nicotine patch on their arms, nor did they have the smell of the murderer. Just then, a man walked in, and Victor immediately smelled his scent. Sure enough, he had a nicotine patch on his arm. The two of them worked together and caught the murderer. As it turned out, everything was exactly as Victor had deduced. The murderer had killed Orf and Tork for the 2 million euros.